So dear friends, I'm back. I'm back from abroad and very happy to be here in India because east or west, India is best. The home is best. I went from here in an atmosphere of very heat. As such, it was very hot when I went out, and when I come back to India, it's so pleasant here and greenery once again sprouting in the nature. But my trip abroad was good. It was a little of a rest for me. I went round places, and Rome is Rome. You can't get a place like Rome because it's still a little of a mystery. A place, what we can say, is sanctified with its graces, so many beautiful churches and buildings, and that aura of atmosphere itself is charging a lot because Romans and the city of Rome enchants everybody. Of course, there were a lot of tourists, especially from the American and the European countries, and for them perhaps the heat was there, but the Europeans and the Americans also, because they have such a cold winter almost half the year, they like to be in the sun, they enjoy the sun as such. I went round. First I went, as I said, to Rome itself. After a few days I went to Germany, met some of my old friends, and then I was back again in Rome. I visited some offices. I visited also some friends of mine who were there and who are still there. I also visited some dignitaries in the propaganda, in the Italian Bishops' Conference, and also some simple people who helped me and who are still there. Of course, I met our own priests, the priest of our Archdiocese. There's Father Sebastian, who's doing biblical theology, Father Bala Francis, who's doing liturgy, Father Peter, who is doing the canonical studies, and so many other priests also. There are also priests from St. Peter's Seminary, Father Stanley, Father Kiran, and so many others are also there. In fact, I stayed in Collegio San Paolo, where some of our priests are there, and 30 years hence, it was good to visit my own alma mater. As regards my going around also, people were very curious. It was the time that the elections had just over, and people were asking, what about India? I said, India is a very mysterious country. I can say a miraculous country, because we come up again and again. As we go down, we come up again and again. So this particular government, we also wish well that the opposition fought very strongly, came with a lot of improvements in the numbers than the previous elections, and we are sure that there will be a strong opposition. In fact, on the last day of my stay in Rome, the Jesuit fathers, I was staying in the Jesuit Curia, where the Superior General of the Jesuits, Father Arturo de Souza, is there, and the other fathers. There are many Indian priests also, and all of them were interested in knowing what's called the post-election scenario in India. And so I gave a talk, and there was an interaction, a very healthy interaction, especially from the European and the American fathers. They were anxious to know about India, and I spoke to them. I gave my own impressions, at the same time the positive attitude that we look forward to in this new government. That was my Rome trip. As I said, I was happy to be back also, because India is something special for all of us, and though we go abroad once in a way, our home is India. We love Mother India. So now let me start with the usual sharings of mine on the message of this week. It's the 11th Sunday of the year, and the message is very simple, perhaps a little too simple. It's about the mustard seed. And as anyone would know, as Jesus himself would say, it's the smallest of the seeds. But then why the seed? I think it's very topical, it's very relevant, because we see all around the little drops of rain that are making the land come back to life, as it were. And surely the farmers are very active, throwing the seeds, as it were, in their farms, in their fields. And Jesus picks up this theme of growing up, of sprouting up, of new life, as it were. The Gospel today, Gospel of Mark, chapter 4, verse 26 to 34, Jesus speaks about this parable of the mustard seed. Earlier, of course, the first reading also from the book of Ezekiel tells us about this growth that is taking up on the mountains, that twigs that fall there will sprinkle, will sprout, and they will grow into bushes or trees perhaps. It's a beautiful, the whole readings of this Sunday are of nature, as it were, and everyone can say and picture ourselves in this growing up process of nature. The second reading also has got a beautiful message that this earth is not our home. We look forward to the heavens beyond, and our growth, as it were, is not just a waste. Everything has meaning, and our growth of life itself is perhaps the best miracle of life. And so today we speak about the mustard seed and the growth. Not just the physical growth, but also the spiritual growth, as it were. First of all, physically, we see so there's so much happiness when we see growth in the life. This week I was in Belgaum for a short time, and I could see those small babies I had baptized 5-6 years ago, or perhaps even more than that. They have grown up, and a mother that came to me with her son, and I said, I saw him as a small baby. Yeah, he has grown up, and he's growing up beautifully. As I said to myself, growth is something that takes us up. And so today, what do we learn from this gospel of the mustard seed? First of all, Jesus himself says, it's the smallest of the seeds, meaning to say, the little things have meaning. We look forward to big things in life. We look forward to revolutions. We look forward to so many considerations that will make us great. But Jesus speaks about the small things, the mustard seed, the smallest of the seeds, as it were. I'm fond of that author, Arundhati Roy, who has written a book called The God of Small Things. Our God is of small things. Of course, it's supposed to be a novel that gives an experience of our own life, a little fictional, but then perhaps the words of the title itself gives us a lot of meanings. Our God is God of little things. He appreciates the little things, the little efforts, the little perhaps initiatives that we take, and these become small ones. Just like the small baby that you have held, and today it's a grown-up son or daughter, perhaps miracle of life. Secondly, the seed is the smallest, but then it doesn't remain small. It grows up. It grows into, sprouts into perhaps a small sapling, and slowly grows into a bush. So therefore, growth is silent, but growth is phenomenal, and growth is also a miracle. A miracle, because we say growth is miracle in a positive sense, because anything that grows well is for our benefit, While the growth itself is slow and steady, the growth itself is secret and silent, but growth is always a miracle. We speak about the spiritual growth. Perhaps sometimes our spiritual experiences are also like this mustard seed. We wait for a big miracle, we wait for a big awakening, we wait for a big sort of a gathering or a big experience. But then perhaps silently you are sitting somewhere, you are listening to a talk, you are reading a small book, you are reading the scriptures, you are sitting for a few moments in front of the Blessed Sacrament. Something happens within you, a small thing that wakes up, that lights up, that perhaps sprouts in you. It's the spiritual awakening, a spiritual growth that we ask for. And it is like the mustard seed that grows in silence, that grows in secret, but all the same, it's a miracle of life. Let us ask the Lord to bless our small things of our life, the small efforts of our life, the small initiatives that we take, because the small is beautiful, little is great. And in this way, perhaps we'll understand what it means for Jesus to be grown up, as it were, in this miracle of growth, miracle of faith in our life. Something particular about my Rome trip was I carried with me in my heart the migrants that are in Bangalore, especially the migrant children of our Archdiocese. Wherever I went, I showed photos to the people and made mention of them, and I sought help and support also for our migrant children, especially those from Manipur who are in our schools and colleges, who are boardings and hostels. They were surprised to see that so far away from their own country, from their own state, they have traveled all the way to Bangalore because they are children of hope, the children of the future. And many of them have promised me some support, and I also perhaps entreated on their behalf, because I said these are the children of the future. Perhaps who can say that these children who have grown up in these difficult circumstances but welcoming features in Bangalore might be the future of their own country, to lead the country in a new way. When I showed the photos of our children enjoying here, especially in the holidays, in the holidays we had arranged some water sports and some other sort of recreations for them because they could not go home to their own places, and I had carried some photos of them. They were so happy to see that the children were not only getting education during the school hours, school days, but enjoying also in the holidays. That's the spirit of give and take. What we give comes back to us. It is, as Mother Teresa always says, there's more joy in giving and sharing than in only receiving. May God bless all our benefactors, especially those that have promised me help and support, and I'm sure that they will do it. I speak about this Sunday. The next Sunday actually is celebrated as the Laity Sunday, 23rd of June. And I've spoken often earlier that the Laity Sunday has meaning in today's world, especially because we expect the laity to take, or rather to play, a responsible role. We speak of laity empowerment. Perhaps I don't say that it's a mistake, but perhaps we have to acknowledge small shortcomings on our side. We as the clergy, sometimes we are surely in the limelight. We are in the pulpit. We are saying many things, doing many things, and sometimes it may think that the whole world revolves around us, the clergy. But today, the Holy Father, Pope Francis, earlier Pope John Paul II, who is a saint now, spoke of what's called the laity empowerment, that the laity have to come up. And so once a year we remind ourselves, we remind our people that you also are co-responsible with us for the growth of the church, for the many good things in the church and in the society. So that is why we celebrate the Laity Sunday. I hope all the pastors will make an effort not only to preach, but also involve the laity in some way. And the laity can be involved in so many things of our life, starting with the church, small things in the church. For example, the parish councils that will be soon started anew. The old parish councils finish their term at the end of this year. The parish finance committees, the associations, there's so many movements in which the laity can show their part, play their role. So also we encourage the laity also to play a part in the society. Society, everyone is a leader. Perhaps some leaders are in the limelight, but that does not mean that only the limelight or those leaders that shine and perhaps reflect are the only leaders. You are a leader at home. You are a leader in your workplace. You are your leader in your own society, in the area that is assigned to you. And therefore, we also have to assume what we call the leadership roles in society. I say how good it would be to be a leader of the community, perhaps a small club, a small association. Starting with that, we slowly rise up and we can also play our role as good leaders. The latest Sunday is celebrated close to the feast of St. Thomas More. And St. Thomas More who was a gentleman, what we call the Chancellor of the country, England, at his own time. The Chancellor meant almost equal to the Chief Minister, and therefore next to the King he was the most powerful man. But then when he became the Chancellor, he exercised his role to such an extent that the King was not happy. The King was not happy, and therefore the King deposed him and even put him into the prison because he was not ready to sign what we call the decree that allowed the king to divorce his legally wedded wife. And therefore, the Thomas More had to suffer for his decision, and he was in the jail for a long time. And in the jail, he writes a letter to his own daughter. And he says, "If only I served my God as much as I served my king, things would have been different." Perhaps many of us, we realize very late that we have been following wrong leaders, we have been following wrong ideals, and perhaps very often a time the principles, the evangelical counsels do not count in our life. So therefore, my dear friends, I wish every one of our laity members, men and women, a great day. And may this day be a day of remembrance for you of your own role and duty, responsibility that you should exercise in the society. I now speak about, the schools have started. Many of the children are back. Their bags are packed. Their new uniforms, they look beautiful. Especially in the mornings when you go to the streets, children rushing to the buses, to their own perhaps rickshaws, rushing to the schools, anxious to go to the school, the joy of going to the school. And I wish the children who are going to the schools, the teachers who are teaching them, the institutions who are running them all the best, because this is also, like the mustard seed, something that we put into the child that grows up, that they become intelligent, that they become self-reliant, as it were, in their own life. But I now speak about a certain subject that is very dear to us, not only in our schools, but also in our churches, what's called the catechism for the children. Many of our pastors have planned properly and started with the meetings with the teachers, with the inauguration of the catechism class in the parishes, and I appeal to the parents to send your children for catechism. It's important. It's important. Don't think only what we call the physical knowledge of things, of science, of languages, of maths is enough. The children have to grow in faith. The children have to grow in principles. We have to only see that child Jesus at the age of 12. When he was taken to the temple, perhaps he must have felt that longing to learn more, longing to study more, longing to learn about God, about his principles. And he does something which his parents were not happy. He remained back in the temple to listen to those teachers who were discussing, who were teaching perhaps a catechism of their own sort. And his parents miss him out, but after 3 days, when they come back, they see him and they ask him, "Why did you do it to us?" And then he tells them, "Don't you know that I should be busy with my Father's business?" My Father's business. And who is the Father? The Heavenly Father. And therefore the catechism in some way is sort of making the children know about their Father's business, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. And so catechism is very important. I would request the parents to send your children, ask them the questions when they come back, feed them with certain perhaps ideas, ideals, or sayings that will be helpful for them for long life. Especially it's on Sundays. Sunday is the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord, which begins with the Eucharist, but also these teachings to the children, good works that we do for our perhaps neighbors and the poor people, all makes up our Sunday, a holy day, a day of the Lord. I encourage and appeal the parents to send their children for catechism, and good pastors, along with the help of the teachers, perhaps some parents. I have seen in some parishes so joyously the teachers come forward and the parents to teach catechism to the children. This will be a long-term investment for your child. One day the child perhaps will come back, will do something because of what she has learned, what he has learned at the catechism time. I now speak to you on a topic perhaps that may not be connected with these things, namely the mission, or rather the mission experience of our priests. Every year when the priests are newly ordained, after about a month or so, when they have met everybody, they have celebrated their ordination, they have visited their relatives, I send them to what we call the missions places in India. Most of the time it is North India, and sometimes also North Karnataka, which has got a great mission. So this year we had 7 priests who have gone to the missions. And I'm so happy because when they come back, they come bubbling. They come in bubbling with joy. They have not much to eat there. They have long distances to go by motorcycle, or perhaps sometimes even to walk. In places like Northeast, even the motorcycles are not useful. They have to go up and down the hills and the valleys. They have to reach their places, 2-3 hours of walking. Many a time their phones don't work. There is no mobile connection. They are always out of range. And of course, there is not much of joy like in the city, that everything that they say so fast, everything moves slowly. That is mission life. So 7 of our priests have gone. I just read out their names and the places that they have gone. Soon I have told them to send at least some pictures and some experiences of their mission life, so that we in the city of Bangalore, what we call the cosmopolitan city, we can also from a far distance experience the missionary life of these priests. Father George Negumius has gone to Gulbarga Diocese, and he will be closer to Bidar, which is considered as one of the most backward districts of Karnataka, perhaps even India. There are not many roads there. There are not many schools there. There are not many perhaps factories there, but it's a mission area. And the bishop, the good bishop, Bishop Robert Miranda, a very holy and missionary bishop who has worked last 50 years in this place of the missions, as it were, and he was ordained a bishop of that area because he knows best the people of his own missions, and that is where Father George Negumius has gone. Secondly, Father Kanika Swami and Father Anthony Leo have gone to Bareilly Diocese. Where is Bareilly? North India. It's a mission in UP. And it's such a mission that, the priests who have gone there in the past have shown a lot of stories. There was one priest who told me that when he went inside, the first thing that he found was a snake. And he thought he managed to get it out, and he thought it's finished. No, next day another 2 more were ready in his room. So meaning to say that such frightful places, but our priests have gone with joy. The Bishop of Bareilly is Bishop Ignatius de Souza, a young bishop, very missionary minded, and he knows that he may not have a lot of people and a lot of spiritual experiences, but then he's catering to the poor people, and that's where our 2 priests have gone. Father Pavan Anthony and Father Anthony Raj, the new priests, have been sent to Jabalpur Diocese. Once again, Jabalpur is a very missionary area. There's a new bishop there called Bishop Vallan Arasu, and the previous bishop, Bishop Gerald Almeida, who was there, with whom we started sending the priest to his diocese. He looks after new priests very well, but hard experience. And I have told him that I would like our priests to see the interior missions so that they can also plan out in a good way their own works that they can do. And Father Anthony Raj and Vicky DS have been sent to Miao. Miao is northeast of India. We have heard of Arunachal Pradesh. We have heard of the cookies who have come from northeast Manipur. We have seen the people of Assam in India. And these are two priests, new priests have gone to these areas. Especially, it's a missionary area where the people perhaps live in poverty but are rich in piety. And Bishop George Palyaparambil is a missionary bishop, a bishop who was so happy when I asked him, can I send some priest? He said, all the more, and he immediately contacted our priests and welcomed them to in his own place. So these are our priests who are working there. Let us pray for them. Let us accompany them, especially in their missionary journeys. I have known that it creates a lot of good impression on our new priests. Perhaps I don't say Bangalore is good or bad, but sometimes it can spoil us with everything that is available, that is comfortable, that is perhaps the roads, the transport, the phones, the computers, everything is there. And when we experience in these places when things are not there, our world doesn't collapse. Rather, we get new ideas as to how to do it. And so the priests who have been in the past in the missions, one of the things who I have sent them is in order to start the missions in our Archdiocese, reactivate the missionary activities in our own diocese. In fact, 3 of our priests are in deep missions, have been appointed this year. Father Kanikadas has been appointed to a place called Pavagada. There are just 2 or 3 Christian families there. We have a school there, we have the St. Anne sisters there, and he is looking after them. Father Sashi Kumar, he is also in a place called Amalgundi, which is very interior, about 30 kilometers away from Tumkur. And it's so interior that the road also is not so good. But our priests of the past, Father Terence Matthew was there, and now Father Sashi Kumar is doing well there. He has begun well there. So also Father Mario has gone to what's called a place called Sananhalli on the border of the diocese, where we have a school also, and this school of ours is getting what's called 100% results for the last 5 years. And the people are very poor, and though they are very poor, we have about 5 or 6 vocations, priests working in our Archdiocese from this place, from Sananhalli, where Father Mario is posted. So it is a good experience for our priests to work in the missions in the north or in Karnataka, so that they can replicate their experiences here in our own Archdiocese. I now take you to what we call the jewels of the Archdiocese. The jewel of the Archdiocese, today we speak about St. Aloysius School and College. You know, as I said, these are institutions, are the jewels of our Archdiocese, because from long time they have been existing, they have borne fruits, and they are the shining examples of the hard work of our priests. So St. Aloysius School is supposed to have started in 1898, and from the humble beginnings of those missionary fathers, what we call the MEP fathers, they had started this school, but it was in the 19th century, as it were, 1918 or so. Father Brown is the first one who graduated, or rather improved the school, laid the foundations of the school to be from the primary to the high school. Ever since it has been growing up, and Father Araujo was one of those priests who brought it up, and along with him the other priests who have followed him, all big stalwarts, Father Coelho, Father Mervyn Coelho, Father Araujo himself, Father Rego, Father Ambrose. These are all the fathers who put together have brought the school to greater heights. And this year we celebrated, rather we are just still celebrating, we inaugurated the celebration of 125 years last year. And this year, perhaps in December, we will be closing the celebrations of these 3 institutions that are in 3 different places now, 2 different places. The Aloysius Middle School is in our cathedral campus, and just now being looked after by Father Amarnath. And The high school, the PU, and the college and the post-graduation is in the what we call the campus of the St. Aloysius College, and there also Father Mahendran is the manager, Sister Sagaya is just the principal of the college, and there are so many others who are working together. From humble beginnings of the 125 years ago, we have reached up to this level, and it's a great experience for us that this school, college, and perhaps the post-graduation also is an institution of the future with a lot of hopes. So therefore, I present this institution as our own jewel of the Archdiocese, which has produced so many fruits, which has got so many alumni who have been in the army as commanders, as generals, in the civil service as the IAS officers, the politicians as doctors, engineers, and so many alumni that bring pride to us. Perhaps I'll have occasion to make reference to it as we celebrate the 125th year in the month of November or December, to showcase also those great people who have passed through our institution of St. Aloysius School and College. May this inspire many more not only to join but also join in our efforts to resurrect the old jewels that are hidden in our Archdiocese.
The Shepherd's Voice, which is being presented by our beloved Archbishop, Most Reverend Dr. Peter Machado, the Archbishop of Bangalore, who takes so much of interest and concern in order to bring the various topics, the contextual aspects, in order to inform, educate, and catechize all of us, the priests, the religious, and faithful of this vast Archdiocese. And I'm sure you are enjoying this program, Shepherd's Voice, and I request each one of you to share with your other colleagues, friends, and family and relatives, near and dear ones, so that everyone in this Archdiocese can be more closer to listen to the Archbishop on this Shepherd's Voice, the weekly feature. My dear friends, as I've always told, that this is a wonderful platform wherein we can connect to the Shepherd of this Archdiocese, wherein he brings in the interesting topics in order to increase our devotion and love towards God, and also to know the spiritual matters that concerns our faith. In a very special way, you are most welcome to ask your questions, queries, and you can send them to us at archdblr@gmail.com, and you will also see our mobile number in and through which you can connect with our media center, Ave Studios, and the Archdiocesan Communication Center. Please do write to us your feedback, your opinions. Thank you. Continue to watch and continue to share with others.